And we're going to focus for this last little bit of the show on a show that is opening on November 4th. It's a classic. It's Lilies of the Field.
Yep.
People are huge fans of this 1964 movie, but it was actually a novel before that, right,
yes,
Nelson?
It was a novel before, and the movie adaptation was done with Sidney Poitier. And he was so wonderful in it that everybody knows that.
Yes.
It's awesome. It's awesome for a number of reasons. One, having a lead, a person of color in a lead role.
Well, he was the first African American to ever receive the Oscar for best actor.
And it was for that role.
It was for that role. So there's a lot of energy behind it, a lot of interest.
Oh yeah.
Behind it, and I'm fortunate enough to play that role myself.
Yeah.
I actually get to play something scripted, which nobody thinks I could do. So I'm here to prove them wrong.
It actually adds to, I mean, like your ability to kind of go in the flow, but something I know as an actor, and I taught improv classes for years. I had my own comedy group, and we used to play all the comedy clubs in the Chicago area. But what I always felt it did was, I would always get frustrated with directors saying, okay, you're acting this way, now give me a big reaction. But with improvisation, to me, it's always an interaction that's constantly happening. Like, you don't act just because you have lines,
right,
or you have stage directions. If you're truly in the moment, I think that's completely what improvisation teaches you.
Right.
It's not all just about thinking off the top of your head, but it's also the ability to make a scripted piece sound like your character is saying it for the first time and thinking of it as it's occurring to them. Right. So I think there's a lot of benefits to having that training.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, acting is more reacting. That's what I always tell my students, you know, my improv students. It's reacting, and it's really getting down to what is the relationship between what the person's talking about and what's going on in the scene. So, you know, Lilies gives me a really good platform to really tie those things together. I have a really good cast with Vicky Cash playing Mother Mary Marta, who's the Mother Superior in there. I've got Dean Johansson. See, I'm cheating here. I've got a list with me.
It's good.
I got Dean Johansson.
Bring a cheat sheet.
Who is playing Livingston, who owns a very prosperous business in the area. And I've got my nuns, Aaron Anderson. Got Colleen Zana. I've got Pat Tashida. I've got, who am I forgetting? Oh my gosh, Aaron Anderson. Oh, Jennifer Stevens, can't forget her. She's awesome. And I got my man Brad Schrader playing Jose, which is awesome, who's a shop owner.
Yeah.
And then we've got, in this, we're lucky enough to get Reverend Dave Kovalow, who is the Reverend over at the location where we're doing it, which is the First Christian Church in Valpo. He's going to be playing Father Gomez.
Right.
So,
and this is playing. It's Lilies of the Field is running November 4th through the 13th.
First 2 weekends.
Yes, the first 2 weekends of November.
Yep.
Before you get busy with all that Thanksgiving hullabaloo, Valparaiso Theatrical Company operates out of the First Christian Church right here in Valparaiso, and that is located at 1507 Glendale Boulevard, right across from Valparaiso, the next generation.
That thing is nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts.
It looks like so much fun.
Yeah, it is. And there's supposed to be exploding flames. Yeah, we'll just go over there and do film of us running through the things because all the kids are in school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's our place.
Well, except for the really little ones. Ooh. So Matt's in too, right?
Yeah.
We're all in?
Yep.
All right. If you want tickets, you can contact them through the Colleen Zana hotline at 219-309-6794, and she will hook you up for tickets to this classic. Now, for people who aren't familiar with it, because it's been forever since I have seen it, and one of the great stories when I was at Valparaiso University, my photography teacher, George Strimbu, the great George Strimbu, one of his claim to fame was there was a tour with Sidney Poitier right after the movie had been made, and he was visiting school kids in Gary, and that was where George was from originally. And George caught a series of pictures of Sidney Poitier laughing, and it made it all the way to Life magazine.
Oh, wow.
You know, so that was like his huge claim to fame was during maybe the promotional, and he was visiting different groups in inner cities and so forth. But the story is basically about a kind of a wandering handyman, right?
Well, yeah, it's a GI. GI just got out of the Army, and he is looking for work. He just got out, and he's looking for work, driving around, and he stumbles upon a group of nuns working outside, and he sees that they're trying to, do.
He's traveling to Arizona,
things.
right?
Yeah. New Mexico.
New Mexico.
But
they're German nuns.
Yeah, they're German. That's cool. That's a very cool twist to everything.
Yeah, cool.
So
twist.
lots of accents in the show.
Yeah.
So he stumbles across them, and he gets hired on to help them fix things around the place, and it evolves from there into the relationship as to his yearnings as a black man in the South. It's a time period piece, so the things that he's running into.
Well, it's pre-civil rights, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what his yearnings are, what the nuns themselves are in need of, and what they want from them, and a very unspoken mutual attraction to each other, not in a sexual manner, but more of a cosmic attraction.
Well, yeah, because they think he's been sent to them by God.
Absolutely.
Eventually, right?
Right.
He's going to make everything right.
He's got to make heads or tails of what's going on with that relationship, and he struggles with it the entire play. But wonderful things happen as a result of this interaction between these nuns and this man, and how things change for the area and how things change for themselves personally.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really good story. It's not the kind of story where you have very strong overtones, like here is definitely a climax and here is definitely a conflict and stuff like that. It's very subtle, but it's very interesting, and it's engaging, and it builds the entire time. So it's a kind of show where I feel that it's definitely going to showcase a lot of like you said, the talent in the area, but it's also going to just showcase subtlety as well, which is great.
Well, and you have, even though you're operating at a church, it's still a very intimate place to see a show,
right?
And so you're right there for all of those emotions,
right? And we've got music in it too. We've got some singing, and the way it's staged is that it's, go back to the improv side of things. Like we've been working a lot with making this church seem like we've got an outside of a church, we've got a cafe, we've got all these different places, and it's really fun to see and play with the space itself to make it even more realistic, and really tie those lines and tie those characters to be bigger than what they are on paper.
Right. So when you're doing a show in a public space like a church like this, do they have to have storage for you? Or are you like keeping the set off the stage till like the last second, or how does it work exactly?
So we're utilizing the space as is for the most part. So we're just adorning the existing space with basically props or things that are movable and stored in different areas.
Like well thought out props. You're not going to go there and have a literal set.
Yeah, Steve Zana's put a lot of thought behind what exactly is going to go on this set, what isn't. Because he did Bleacher Bums there. It was the last show that they did there, and that had a different feel to it. So because they don't have the luxury of being able to keep set pieces on there, he's been very strategic and very thoughtful of what he can do and what he can't.
One thing that they are doing that they're real creative with this time, the church has allowed them the use of the sanctuary, I believe.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And because they've been able to use that space rather than the fellowship hall that they've been in the past, they've been able to utilize the projection system and allow kind of some sort of hint to be there to give a subtle guide to the audience of where they're at.
Kind of a multimedia kind of.
Yes, allow for that multimedia element to give a prompting of the location, and then let the acting actually transform the space the rest of the way to really set the mood and set the scene.
Yeah, and that's one way to get around having to have physical walls for this. Okay, this. The other thing too is when something's been adapted from a movie or even plays in general nowadays, they're so episodic and location driven. You know, they used to talk about the well-made play, you know, that Ibsen used to do back in the 1800s, you know, and it was all took place in this one set, one box set, one location the entire time. Now we're seeing plays that you have to have some lighting capabilities or the ability to project, or to have that really well-placed prop piece that says, okay, here's where we are.
The nice thing about being in a sanctuary too is that there is definitely a spiritual element to this show, wouldn't you say, Nelson?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I know Eric mentioned earlier that I've been involved with a lot of theaters. That's probably the understatement of the century. One of them that I'm working with, in addition to doing Little Shop, I'm also on the board of directors for Valparaiso Theatrical Company. So I've helped with some of the marketing and publicity going on for it in the community. And we've been contacting a lot of the different churches and such in the community to say, look, it's not specifically a church lesson, but it is definitely a very spiritual oriented play. Mm-hmm. And it would be wonderful for you to organize a small group to go and then do a discussion group afterwards, or to just to mention that there's a lot going on with this moving forward. And it's unique for them because kind of, again, with that spiritual element, there's also a mission element, and it's great for this theater group because of the fact that they are one of the few in the area that has a specific mission to help other organizations.
So it's a not-for-profit that helps other
not-for-profits.
Yeah.
For every ticket, 60% of the money that's raised from the ticket sales goes right back out the door, stays here in Northwest Indiana, but goes to help with other nonprofits in the area.
So are there selected charities that this is going toward this time out?
They try to partner with different charity groups each time. One of the groups that they're working with this time is a group called the Eidolon Syndicate, which is actually a group that helps with veterans outreach in the area. I believe that they are doing one night that is a fundraiser specifically for the youth programs of First Christian or for the food pantry. It's one of the two. And there's a couple other organizations that they escape me right now. I have them written down for when I'm putting together the program. But they model it so that each charity has a specific night, so that they get to kind of tell a little bit about themselves and then come back and see the show.
And then do these different groups in turn sell tickets themselves for that
as a fundraiser
night?
because it just is a way to kind of carry the office out into the community a little bit more.
Yeah, so support the community. Make sure you get over to First Christian Church, where Valparaiso Theatrical Company will be presenting Lilies of the Field. It's a wonderful, just a heartwarming story, and what a great space to see it in. So, and also you're supporting local not-for-profit groups by seeing shows done by Valparaiso Theatrical Company. That show is running 2 weekends, first 2 weekends in November 4th through the 13th. And if you want ticket information or reserve tickets, you can give them a call at 219-309-6794.